What's going on, journalist family? Irvin Felix Sean with the Fitness Journals, where I provide education, entertainment, and authenticity to the calisthenics game. We're getting right into it, cracking the code, mastering fitness consistency. Now, I got the slides here, which you will be able to download. It will be in the comment section as well as the description. And make sure you download the accompanying workbook that goes with this. Come on, I shouldn't have to beg you for this. This is how many videos are you going to watch of discipline, consistency, motivation, and not actually do the bare minimum, which is action, right? Get fed up, get upset with yourself, and do something about it. So go ahead and do that right now. Download it, and we're gonna follow along, right? So section one, I'm gonna give a quick overview everything we're gonna be going through in this video. Section one, understanding motivation versus discipline. Section two, challenges faced by busy professionals, which is you. And just a quick description: what is a busy professional? If you're working 8 or more hours per day, or you have a lot of major responsibilities, you are a busy professional, right? So section three, actionable step for motivation. Section four, actionable step for discipline, and section five, overcoming setbacks. Now, very briefly, just to introduce, it's important to understand what role health plays in your life, right? If you don't see the importance, you're not going to do anything about it. Now, unfortunately, I've worked with a lot of people, and known a lot of people who started too little too late, right? And it's only when the doctor tells them, hey, this is what's going on, you don't have a lot of time if you keep living this lifestyle. And by the time they actually decide to do something, it's not like they did not know, they knew. And by the time they actually decided to do something, their health was so far gone that even though they did start to be proactive, well, not proactive, they started to be reactive because the doctor's telling them this is going on, that's going on. When they finally start to do something, the level of health that they can achieve is never really that level where they're excelling. It's kind of always just holding on. And the unfortunate thing about us humans is that's kind of the only way that we're forced to take action, unless you truly understand what actually happens when you neglect your health and wellness, right? You don't need to get to the point where your health and wellness is down the drain for you to actually take action. You educate yourself enough to know, wow, I don't want that to be me, and I know it will be me eventually if I neglect my health and fitness, right? So a lot of the common challenges that I hear from a lot of people, and trust me, not every challenge is an excuse, right? So I completely understand when people say things like, I lack time, right? I don't have a lot of time. I have a lot of competing responsibilities, and ultimately they struggle with staying consistent. You probably struggle with staying consistent, right? If you've ever downloaded one of my free programs here on YouTube, you'll see a little section that says, what's the number one challenge you're facing? And I have seen an overwhelming amount of responses saying consistency, motivation, which tells me that the problem isn't that you don't know what to do, right? It's not like you don't know how to do a push-up, you don't know how to do a pull-up. That's the easy part. The challenge that a lot of people face is not being able to remain consistent long enough to actually see the outcome of that work, right? So that's just a brief introduction. We'll be talking about all those things in a nutshell. So discipline versus motivation, they are not the same. They are not the same. Discipline is not the same as motivation. They are not synonymous. Motivation is a tool, right? And the thing about a tool, you actually have to understand how to use a tool for its intended purpose to actually get an outcome, right? The mistake that so many people make is they try and use motivation as that main thing. You're going to fail. You're absolutely going to fail. I have not seen anyone who relies on motivation as their main source to take action actually succeed. Motivation, it's so volatile, it will never last long enough for you to actually see a outcome worth having, right? So let's talk about that. So I got some notes here. Let me just turn this into the big screen here. But motivation is the spark, right? Imagine we're attempting to start a fire. The spark in and of itself isn't gonna keep a fire going and sustained, right? you need fuel. You need, ignition. You need what's it called? The 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 things that you use in a barbecue. My brain is going is blank right now. Anyway, that's minor. But the fuel, right? Whether it be gas, um, lighter fluid, whatever it is, you need fuel. And then on top of that, you need wood. You need stuff to keep the fire burning. Motivation, you could try and spark all day long. It's not going to just ignite the air, right? There needs to be a source. Discipline is that thing that keeps burning, right? Motivation will kick it into high gear, but well, it will kick it into gear, not even into high gear. It will kick it into gear, but you actually have to create the background. You need to create the foundation for discipline, for motivation to actually do something. It needs something to ignite, right? And if you don't have the discipline, yeah, you'll get excited. The spark will go up, and then it's like, okay, that was nice, and then you go back to what you were doing before, right? So discipline is an ongoing commitment and consistency required for long-term success. You understand what I'm saying? Discipline, it's the ongoing commitment. And the problem that a lot of us have, we do not take the time to actually develop discipline. It is a skill. It's a skill. You can't just say, hey, you know what? it's time for me to start working out again. And then just show up at the gym and think it's going to work that way. Now, for some people, these are outliers that could work. We're not talking about outliers. We're talking about the general approach for most people that will not work. Just showing up to the gym, deciding that you're going to start working out, that's not going to be enough to keep you in there. You need a system. So think about how many people who have that body that you want, the health level that you want, the car that you want, the house that you want, whatever it is, because how we do one thing is how we do all things. And we could always use these principles in every area of our life. Every one of those people probably set goals, the people who have that thing that you want. So clearly it's not a goal setting issue. It's a system issue. You don't have the system supporting those goals, right? So I want you to keep in mind that motivation, it comes and goes. It's fleeting. But discipline is what sustains actual progress, right? So we got to keep that in mind. Motivation cannot be relied on to carry us to our goal. It will not do it. Now let's jump into section 2. Section 2, challenges faced by you, busy professionals, right? And I want to reiterate that motivation is not bad. I don't want you to think that. It's important. Motivation is so important, but it is a tool and you need to understand how to use it. If you have a tool, you cannot just use the tool helter skelter and expect a specific outcome to happen, right? The tool is there. You need to actually understand how to use that tool so it can fulfill its purpose, right? So challenges faced by you, right? Maybe you have kids, you have a job that requires a lot out of you. You have a lot of stress dealing with work, home, all these other things. You don't have time for yourself, right? It's important to acknowledge these problems and identify them for what they are. They are problems. When you have a problem, if you don't want to keep dealing with that problem, what would you do? You would start to look for solutions. I would hope that's what you would do, right? And solutions look different depending on where you are on that spectrum of the severity of the problem, right? Which is why it's so important to be realistic. Yes, setting big goals is awesome. It's great. It's great to see what if. Like, what if I never stop? What if? But you need to be realistic for where you are right now. That's the only way that you'll begin to push the needle and keep the needle pushing. And the needle's not going to just keep going. It's going to come back down. It's going to fight a little bit. It's going to go, oh man, I'm going hard. But guess what? When you have a system, that will give you confidence. Just relying on, I hope, I wish, that's not going to do anything for you. It will give you anxiety. It will give you more stress. So now it's perpetuating that state of normalcy, of failure almost, right? Of you just trying to rely on something that is so volatile. So, for example, right? don't get me wrong. Like I said, I understand when people say they don't have the time, right? But that's why it's important to what's the word, to audit your schedule, right? And for a lot of my clients, like for example during COVID, um and we know that that was a specific time where people were at home, they didn't have a lot of responsibilities and whatnot. But it's amazing to see during that time how many people developed that discipline because they had nothing to do. And for them to push the needle that far for so long during that time frame, it allowed them to see the benefit of leading a healthy lifestyle. And so many of those people who started during that time are still doing it now. That got to tell you something, right? You trust the system, you give the system time, and the system will reward you. So I have like a couple of examples here on the screen. Um, Thank you so much. Things are going well so far. I asked, how's everything going? Well, so far, been developing better habits and getting up early. Now, let's say you don't have time later in the evening. The thing about let's talk about calisthenics, right? If you want to start working out and you're like, oh, the commute to the gym, you got to account for traffic, finding parking, maybe the machines that you want to use aren't available. All those things can discourage you. If you're doing calisthenics, you have a long day at work, you come home, you find out your living room, any area, you don't need any, you don't, if you have room to walk, you have room to work out. Deciding that you want to do it is the most important thing. I want to do this. Now let me develop a system. No matter, the thing is, if you don't decide that you want to do it, no matter what um, solution is being shown to you, you're not going to take action because you have not decided that you want to do it. So, like she said here, been developing better habits. Do you think that just happens by accident? You have to want to do it. Been developing better habits and getting up early, right? I feel really good. Not only do you just feel good, you feel good physically, mentally. You really know you're starting to win when your brain switches from this is a chore to it's a reward. And that does not happen. I don't want anyone to think that this is a simple thing to achieve, right? It takes work, but a system makes it so much easier, right? Another client completed a 24-hour shift, but watch died, so I couldn't track. We'll do the one for today this evening. 24-hour shift and still doing your workout. You have to understand the outcome. And for example, he lost 30 pounds. I'll put that over the screen as well. Lost 30 pounds. Right now, he's attending Harvard to become an orthopedic surgeon. And it's like, come on. If someone like that has time, what is your excuse? Really? And sit down and think about, what is my excuse? What is my excuse for not taking the most important asset that I have seriously? Think about that. Ask yourself that question. Good morning. Last night, the workout felt relatively easy, but this morning I woke up sore, but not unbearable. It's just so interesting to see how these simple uh, exercises really are doing something. Just wanted to update you on that. Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication, right? The thing about it, people get into their fitness journey wanting to make quantum leaps. How do I know that? What's one of the first questions people ask? How long will it take? That is an utterly ridiculous question if you have not even equipped yourself. Just making sure the camera was still on. If you have not even equipped yourself with the tools, with the knowledge, with the skills to actually make that outcome happen, why are you asking how much time will it take and you have not even taken the first step to see those results? It does not make sense. Think about that. Think about how nonsensical that sounds for you to ask how much time will it take, and you have not even done the bare minimum, which is equip yourself with the skills, the education, all these prerequisites before you could even put a gauge on it. It's like attempting to wanting to take a road trip, right? I want to take a road trip cross country. You have to take into how long will it take? Well, generally you can see a time frame. Yeah, you put it in the car you have, the conditions you'll be driving in. There's so many different things you have to take into account before you get an accurate reading of how long, an accurate estimation of how long it will take. Right? You get a ballpark estimation when you actually start to do the prerequisites. Educate yourself. Right? These are people who do not have time, who don't have time, and they still are getting phenomenal results. Why? Because they apply the understanding. They apply the skills, they apply the education, the knowledge that they're acquiring because they actually want to do it. Section 3, actionable step for motivation. Like I said, motivation is important, and that's why we're giving it its own section. So boosting motivation, the tool, right? Motivation is a tool. And that's why I want you to actually use motivation the way it's intended to be used. We're not saying throw motivation out the window, right? Motivation is important. We want to have it in our tool belt. We want to be able to have it in our kit. We want to be able to bring it out when it's needed and use it how it's needed. So, number one, set clear, achievable goals. And once you set those clear, achievable goals need to be set in time frames, right? Setting a goal like I want to lose weight. Okay, that's a good general goal. What does that actually mean? What does that look like in action form? If you just say you want to lose weight, if you lose 10 pounds, what does that mean? If you lose 30 pounds, what does that mean? Now, not in every scenario do you have to set specific numbers, but especially if your main goal is to lose weight, if you're obese, yes, you should set a nice goal to say, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds. Now, based on the science and understanding, if you're working with a coach, they'll be able to break down what is a healthy amount of weight to lose in this time frame. Actionable, clear goals, right? Based on where you are in that journey, setting a specific goal will allow you to get motivated. It will give you that motivation like, wow, okay, you know what? I think I could lose 10 pounds. I could do that. Now the system is coming into play. I want to lose 10 pounds. What does it take to lose 10 pounds? Exercise. Now, what type of exercise? We're going to do some resistance training. We're going to do some cardio. We're going to look at how much time we actually have based on our job to dedicate to those things. And that will determine the intensity of the workout. Oh, it's starting to make sense. What's next? Our diet. Oh, we're eating a lot of high calorie dense foods. We're eating a lot of calorie dense foods. Let's switch it out for some more nutrient dense foods. Let's get that protein in since we're going to be pushing the muscles. You see how the system is coming together? Now you're going to start to understand what foods do I need to be eating on a daily basis to actually begin to lose that weight. The system's coming together. It makes it so much easier to stick to rather than saying, I want to lose weight. January 1st, new year, new me. I'm going to hit the gym. How in the world will that last? Find a workout buddy. Accountability. Get a coach. Get serious. And when people hear about getting a coach, I heard someone the other day, they're like, why would I pay someone for that when I could go on YouTube and do it? Of course. You're watching this on YouTube. I make YouTube videos. The thing about it is, if you don't pay attention. If we're talking about outliers, sure. A lot of people have got insane results using my program for free, never interacted with me. They got wonderful results. Outliers still. Right? When you hire a coach, you're getting very intentional focus, effort, attention for a duration, a period of time. I always tell my clients, hey, if you're working with me, the goal isn't to work with me forever. It's for you to go through this program, see the intended result or get really close to it, and for you to know how you got there, for you to actually understand how you got there. Make sure we're still recording, right? So an accountability partner is great, right? But if you have someone who's educated in that specific thing that you're trying to achieve, it just cancels out all the guesswork, right? You're not guessing. You're not trying to figure it out. You're not wasting time being like, wow, I thought I was doing this right the whole time. Come to find out I'm not. Right? You could get money back. You could always make money back. You can never get time back. So know what you're going to do before you actually get in the gym, right? It's like when you could look forward to that workout, you understand like, oh, this is my favorite exercise. I can't wait to get there. Right? That makes things that's another way to like boost that motivation as well. I mean, I know for me it is, right? Um Having that workout that I'm looking forward to, one of my favorites, it gives me something to look forward to, right? So calisthenics is great for example because you could always mix it up. There's so much variations to make your workout so dynamic that you cannot get bored. And a lot of things people tell me like, oh yeah, I was in the gym working out, but I got bored, so I stopped lifting weights. So I stopped going to the gym, right? And it's important to set those small goals, right? Because you can celebrate those victories and you feel good. Reward yourself. Reward yourself, even if it's something that seems like it's not connected. Hey, if I do 3 workouts this week, I went from none. If I do 3 this week, I'm gonna go to the movies. I'm gonna celebrate. And I know that me going to the movies is tied to me doing those 3 workouts. Celebrate those small wins. So, number 4, section 4, actionable steps for discipline, which is the most important thing. Discipline. Discipline is that bridge. Without discipline, there's no amount of psyching yourself up that you can do long enough to see the outcome that you want to achieve. Because the fact of the matter is, you'll rarely, the thing that, especially when it's new, you will rarely feel like doing it. You have to cross that threshold to get to the point where you're like, I don't care if I feel like doing it, whatever, or don't feel like doing it, whatever. I'm doing it because it's something that I need to do to sustain or achieve that goal that I want to achieve. So what you need to do is focusing on the building blocks of discipline is habits. Remember what one of my clients said was developing better habits, waking up early. The building blocks to discipline are habits. You need to take a look at the habits that that are fixed into your lifestyle. And I want to make it abundantly clear that changing your habits is one of the most challenging things to do, especially if you don't have a system. If you just say, you know what, I'm sick and tired of scrolling through Instagram every single day. I'm gonna stop doing it. You can say that all you want. You can say that all you want, and guess what? If you don't have an action plan, a system behind it, watch how quickly you go back to doing what you're used to doing. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. Look at what you do on a daily basis, and if it's something that you said you didn't want to continue doing, think about how many times you've stopped and started, stopped and started, stopped and started. Think about it. Right? When it comes down to fitness, you need to establish a consistent workout schedule. And how do we do that? We prioritize and plan our workouts in advance. Right? We prioritize, one second. We prioritize and plan our workouts in advance. If you wait until you get to the gym to identify what workout you're going to do, that winning streak that you have will be so short-lived. It's like, I was going to make a joke, but let's not do that. Let's keep this serious, right? It will be short-lived. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? So prioritize and plan your workouts. How do you prioritize your workouts? What's my goal? What's my goal? Efficiency. If you're pressed for time, be efficient. Be efficient. Create a supportive environment at work and at home. And that's literally Business Body Elite. If you're not familiar with what we do, that's what we do, right? We create wellness solutions for corporate company, for employers. That's what we do, right? We create an entire wellness program revolved around the workplace. So if you work a 9 to 5, if you work in an office, you spend a lot of time in the workplace. And what we do, we create these systems and protocols to take advantage of the workplace where you spend most of your time, most of your day, most of your life in this area. Why not figure out how to leverage your free time while at work? And it's a lot simpler than a lot of people make it sound, right? Use time management techniques to carve out dedicated fitness time, right? And auditing your schedule is super important. I'm actually working on a course, I guess you could say, a course where we delve into all those things, right? These are what my most successful clients have used is these protocols. They're not anything revolutionary. It's just using human psychology and understanding how your brain works and not trying to work against your nature, right? So, overcoming setbacks, last section here before we wrap it up. So, setbacks are normal. The thing that a lot of people mess up on is like when they start their journey and feel like, oh, I fell off, I stopped, I quit, that's it, game over, I failed, I can't do this. There's no way that you're gonna just take a straight line to the top. That is impossible. No one has ever done that. No one will do that. Right? There are dips. Sometimes you'll drop lower than you were when you were at your best previously, right? You're like, wow, when I started, I wasn't even as bad off as I am right now. That's okay. You have to be able to understand and anticipate that setbacks are going to come before they come. And you have to tell yourself, well, look, when these setbacks come, I'm not going to be hard on myself. I understand this is part of the game, and I am going to adapt. Respect, like, I'm going to adapt based on the situation. It's like all the words I'm trying to use are just evaporating out of my brain. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is setbacks are normal. That's all you need to understand. They are normal. But when you have a system, guess what? You're going to have strategies in place to understand when a setback happens, what am I going to do? If I have a coach and I feel like, look, I'm struggling, what I always tell my clients is, if you feel like you're in a rut, do not try and figure it out on your own. Don't do it. Don't do it. Make it known that you're struggling and bring it to my attention. We're going to work through it. Do not try and work through setbacks on your own, because guess what? If the what's that saying? The level of thinking cannot solve you cannot solve a problem with the level of thinking that created it. And in essence, that's what you would be trying to do, right? If it's a mental roadblock, man, I haven't lost, any weight in the past 2 weeks. I suck. I'm stupid. I can't do this. Whatever. I quit. The level of thinking that already, brought you to that point, it's not gonna say you cannot solve the problem, but like I said, understanding human psychology is so important. Don't try and sort it out by yourself. Right? Have a system, have strategies set in place to execute when those things inevitably happen. And encouraging resilience and a positive mindset is super important. You utilizing your reticular activating system, right? Your subconscious mind is so important. And the things we say to ourselves, affirmations, are so important, right? If I wake up in the morning and I'm like, man, I'm so glad I did not skip my workout today. I am now in the best shape of my life. Or let's say in the future, right? We're talking in the future. And you see yourself, you're like, I'm so glad the days that I did not feel like doing that workout, I didn't feel like eating the way I was supposed to eat, I did it anyway, because look at how I feel. Look at how I look. I am so glad this time I did not make excuses. Imagine saying that to yourself all the time and then going and skipping your workout, sitting down, eating a bag of chips, doing everything opposite. You just become crazy, right? You're a lunatic. If you're telling yourself those stuff on a regular basis and then you still opt to do the opposite of it, something's wrong with you. This is the definition of fake it till you make it, right? In the right sense. You tell yourself these positive things and you follow it with your system, with your action, and see how these things come into fruition. See how they become tangible. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. Gonna conclude it here. I hope that you were actually the gears were turning and you're like, I am fed up. I'm sick of starting over and over and over again. And guess what? I'm not going to start over again from scratch this time. Why? Because I have a system in place this time. I would beg to say that you've never had a system if you stop doing what was actually beneficial for you, even if it were for a small period of time. Right? If you had a system, the system would come into play when you feel like, okay, I'm falling off. System come into play. Strategy come into play. So when you hit those roadblocks, it's like, I anticipated this. This ain't something I didn't plan for. I knew that there were going to be setbacks because it's inevitable. So motivation is a tool. Stop using motive. Stop saying I'm not motivated. I'm not motivated. That stop it. Stop that. Of course you're not motivated. You're not supposed to rely on motivation. It's a tool. What you need to be doing is developing discipline. How do you develop discipline? You work on creating better habits. And don't try and overhaul all your habits at once. Matter of fact, I have I'll throw this little bonus in. Download my habit stacking guide. It really helps you understand. Once again, we try and attack things from the psychological standpoint because we're dealing with the mind here. So the habit stacking guide, go ahead and download that. It will be in the comment section or the description. Download that. You'll get a deeper understanding of how habits actually work and how to develop habits. We're not going to try and overhaul every habit our whole life at once. You already can't stick to one thing, right? You already don't have the discipline to get up and go and work out or eat this way, that way. What makes you think you're going to be able to overhaul your whole life at once? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's not going to work. So what I want you to do, reinforce the idea that discipline is the key to sustainable health and fitness. If your life is hectic and it's crazy, if there's one thing that should be priority in your life is your health and your fitness. Forget everything else. Right now, I'm not saying like if you have kids, abandon your kids, neglect them. Sorry, son, I got to work out. Figure out how you're going to cook your food yourself. Like, Dad, I'm only one. You know what I mean? Like, come on, we're being realistic here. There's plenty of people who have had, most of them, matter of fact, who have kids, their kids work out, they're sitting there working out with them. Right? They see mommy get down doing something, get down with her and do something. You see dad doing some push-ups, doing some pull-ups, they're going to try and emulate it. So if anything, that should be one of the reasons, setting an example for your children. So what I want you to do, there's probably things that I didn't mention here. And if you have your own tips and experiences, comment them below. Share it. If there was a roadblock that you were experiencing, you were like, man, for years I've been trying to do it and I finally got over it by doing X, Y, Z. I want you to share it. I want to see what other creative approaches you guys are taking. And if you haven't done it yet, share your plan. You don't have to write the whole detailed plan, but share something that is tangible that you're going to begin to do, one thing that you're going to change to start to push that needle in the right direction. So do that now. Share that. If you've had any challenges or successes, share it in the comments and how you actually got to doing that. And if there's any future topics that you want me to discuss, share that in the comment section below. If you found any value in this discussion today, please like, share. Definitely share this with someone who you feel like it would be valuable to. And like I said, if I provided value, of course, subscribe. Right? Health is wealth. Get money. Remember, it is just the warm-up.